I came down on your wing beacon, as did Mark Harlock, but you're not here, so might have to do it again. Oh, well, okay. I have asked to leave the wing, so I'll request it again. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Know what to expect. If convenient, could I have that wing beacon, please? suppose Gagarin had this trouble with instancing. Yes. No space junk. Yannick, could you wing me in, please, and I'll bring in Mark Harlock. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I suggested we try again. Thank you. So, how many computers have you got in front of you now? Yes, you see what down-to-earth astronomy does. If you've seen his YouTube on his setup, but he's I'll go quiet. Requiring moderate language.
And hello to everyone out there. I am Commander Yannick, and this is the Gagarin 60th anniversary meetup. It's just the one little meetup on here, the surface of Dab's Hope. Well, the vicinity of Dab's Hope, I should say. But most people know that within the bubble. If anyone's in FleetCom and wish to join us, they are indeed welcome. FleetCom private group, that is, not the Discord. Confuses people sometimes, but that's a completely understandable mess. With me, I have a couple of people who've been on my streams before, actually. I have Commander Andrew Linton, otherwise known as Kit Osland. You probably know the now famed explorer, I would say, arguably, because in the top 100, his first discoveries are, I think, only second in the list now, if I'm correct. But yeah, and also Commander Trillic. And Commander the Razor as well. Commander Trillic you may also recognise from one of my earlier streams. But welcome to everyone. And we've parked here on the surface of this, I don't know, it's kind of like a fairly unremarkable world otherwise. The one that has Dab's Hope on it. It doesn't actually have a name, but hence everyone just calls it Dab's Hope because, you know, the facility is called Dab's Hope. So I suppose that makes sense. But I'm just having a quick pan around with the camera to give people an idea. Those of you who haven't been to Dab's Hope before, or those of you maybe even new to Elite, it's a little sort of mining settlement next to this huge mountain on a sort of moon-like atmosphereless world. It's sort of, I could say just outside the bubble. I suppose it is like at the limits of it really, isn't it? But you can sort of see it away to the left over there. I suppose we're literally parked a little bit further away than I'd anticipated. And we've got the crate parked over there to the right. This is a pretty good place for meetups. I would recommend it if you want to meet anyone, because it's, you know, a little slight journey outside like the normal bubble space, and you've got a nice mountain to climb, and you've got the settlement itself to mess around in if you wish to do that. And so it's a fun place. But this evening we're just gonna mostly sort of mess around and have fun as people do at meetups, and have some sort of interesting conversation. It's not always going to be 100% like on topic talking about Gagarin, even though that is something we can definitely talk about if we want to. But yeah, it's 60 years since the great man himself became the first person to orbit around the Earth. I might actually move my spacecraft slightly nearer, actually. I'll get out my SRV. That'll be the easiest way to solve all these problems. Yes, that always makes sense, deploying your SRV. Yeah, 60 years to the day since Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space, and the first human to orbit the Earth as well, because he did it on the first attempt. And sort of a big win for the Soviet Union at that point in space history. And I think there is an event called Gagarin's Night that a few people do actually do similar things to this, except for just raise a glass to Yuri instead. But here we are near Dow's Hope, and see I've got Andrew Linton's massive yellow and red Corvette parked here, and my SRV goes flying through the air as it is wont to do. I don't know about what's going to happen with this, with the new sort of alpha of Odyssey variations of the SRV. They seem to be trying to mess with the mechanics of it to some degree, but yeah, we'll see how that works out. Mechanics of this are quite good already, I think. You know, the dynamics of the sort of vehicle dynamics of it, the way it handles. It's not got that much grip, but that's not a bad thing. So it does require some skill. I certainly take my hat off to people who race these things, because that's hard. That really is. I mean, like, race with any sort of proficiency. Anyone can race them. I mean, I can race them, but it's not necessarily great. Okay, the thing is about, it says inventory full. Oh yeah, galvanizing alloys, no wonder. But yeah, also another thing about Dow, so apart from an interesting spot to meet people, it's an interesting place to gather mats as well, which I'm kind of doing just pretty much by habit wherever I go. It's a good idea to do that. I mean, there's certain things you can get here that aren't plentiful elsewhere, but it does vary. There's quite a few articles online if you look it up about Dow's Hope. I think it was originally named after, nothing to do with the lore of the game really, but a Frontier Development developer. I think one of the earlier ones. I think he's still with them actually. I don't know if he's still working on Elite or not, but I think he's still with Frontier Developments. If anyone knows differently, then please correct me on it. But hello, Commander Linton and SRV. Do the customary trying to jump into each other or over each other and nearly collide in midair. But it's all good. It's all good fun. Dow's Hope as a locale does have, actually, technically speaking, he's supposedly one of the most interesting locations, not just for all the reasons I've said, but it is an abandoned mining settlement. And there are the usual sort of data points which you can scan, because I'm pretty sure, remember the story, it was evacuated due to a disaster, but a lot of people didn't want them to evacuate, including the mining conglomerate. So naughty to the mining conglomerate. It'll be the first time people have put profit over people's lives, but you know, yeah, it often, this sort of fictional universe sometimes does reflect reality a little bit too closely at times, but yeah, that's just one of those things. I'm just running around at the moment, kind of randomly. See other people's tracks, almost a sort of pinkish colour around. Oh, sorry. I didn't actually mean to collide with him, but yeah. That's what happens. The advantage now, I think, of this era of Elite is you've obviously got the fleet carriers nearby, and that allows for more easy replenishment of SRVs or fighters or anything really, or repair. So I've only got one SRV with my little courier, but it'll do. Jumping over things and people into things. You could have a race around here quite easily, and people do. Yeah. Thank you for everyone who's showed up here on Planet. We've got 4 of us, so that's actually a pretty good number. Yeah, the more the merrier, but yes, 4 as a wing, and we can still sort of see each other quite easily. Obviously, if anyone else wants to join, I'll drop out of wing and try and wing people into the instance. But yeah, if you're in FleetCon, you're more than willing to join us. I've got myself linked up to Discord here as well, so who wants to say hi, and you can talk freely, just no over-the-top profanities, time zone related and what have you. At least that's the best way anyway. I don't want to annoy Twitch if I can possibly avoid it. As far as I'm aware, you've got to say something pretty extreme really to get banned for saying things, usually something like genuinely sort of criminal anyway, or yeah, you can use your imagination of what that might be, but yeah. I think I heard some interesting and kind of amusing stories talking about Discord, about extremists in like the last couple of years actually use Discord to, to, I don't know, plot basically. And the thing is, unsurprisingly, it wasn't too difficult for like various intelligence agencies and the police to monitor them. But it's, I suppose the kind of thing was just inevitable it would be used in that way. Kind of sad, really, but extremism tends to be pretty sad. I try and jump over one of these buildings. I haven't really tried that before when I've been here at Dav's home. Because I'm too busy, like either, flying fighters down the main street or collecting various mats. Get a amount of speed up. Yeah, I'm not going to make it, am I? I think I needed more of a run up. I'll try the other side. I'll probably fly over with a bit of ease in comparison. Okay, let's have a go at this. Right. Use this kind of as a ramp, maybe? Yeah, that's fair enough. And hello to anyone out there who's joining us in the stream. I won't do my usual sort of stream talk so much. Every now and then I'll probably, say something to the stream, but other than that, I'm just gonna do our sort of usual sort of meetup routines, and hello to anyone who's actually not been to one of these. It's always good fun. These always happen sort of not just for racers, but for explorers and expeditions too. That's a sort of grand tradition in that field. Like at every waypoint, approximately, people tend to meet up. Ooh, there goes Andrew Linton flying over. Yeah, that was a good jump, I think. I don't think I'm going to have the momentum for this, but I'm going to try nonetheless. Aha, I did it. Yay. Actually, that was a further jump than I anticipated. Suppose it is low gravity, so I shouldn't be surprised. I'm going to have to just cushion myself as I land. Yeah, there's always that question about what Odyssey will bring to the SRV. Allegedly, there's going to be new SRVs, but I don't think it'll be on the initial full release. I think that's as far as the info coming out of Frontier is concerned. But it would be nice, wouldn't it? Like modular SRV, mining SRV, anything like that, really, exploration-related one. It's just that we've had the Scarab here for so long. It's just like the only one. It's like for an entire galaxy of different systems through imperial, capitalist, communist, religious, etc. It's like, this is the only SRV that you could actually make, seriously. I don't believe that for a second. Yeah. Try and get on top of some of these buildings might be fun as well. I'll try that. It's just positioning myself correctly. Ooh, it nearly worked as well. Oh, actually, I am stuck on something now. See where I've purchased myself. Yeah, signal is lost apparently. See if I can get out of it. Oh, that's better, I think. Uh-huh. Right, I've got stuck somewhere, haven't I? Try and move away from that. See, there's always an NPC somewhere flying around in this place. I've got kind of stuck into the side of it. How amusing. Let's blast out of this if I can. Myself unstuck bit by bit. Cool. Just do SRV fun for now anyway. Has anyone actually got any fighters here today?
Not me.
Fair enough. Haha. Yeah. I might try and fly my courier down the street in a little bit because it's, yeah, a large fighter essentially anyway, so I might do that. I know there's obviously Odyssey is going to be one thing and I wish it might be something else, but there's one thing about Elite that you could change on a future update. What would it be, guys? Assuming everyone's a guy. I don't actually know everyone else that well other than Trillic and Andrew Linton. I think I'm plugged into Discord. Okay, I think I am. I think Trillic said he's on his way later on, didn't he? No, he's already here, isn't he? What am I talking
He's
about?
actually here now. Yeah, he's arrived.
Oh, that's cool.
I would like the SRV to handle better.
Okay, interesting. In what way handle better?
Well, just not to change ends so readily. So, you know, if you're on a long journey on a particular heading and you skid, you always end up facing 180 degrees to the way you want to go.
Didn't intend to crash into him there, but yeah, I try to skim on the top of him. Yeah, I know what you mean about the grip of the SRV. It's like on low gravity sort of worlds, the grip is pretty minimal, isn't it? And it'd be nice if you could have like a function that you could, I don't know, change the handling characteristics. I mean, obviously there's a lot of, you know, racing games, kind of vehicle games, car games, etc. out there. They can obviously like change the setup, and anyone who's like played Gran Turismo knows you stuff like that. I'm not saying that you should do to that degree, but have like a basic setup that you can like change your personal preferences on the SRV, so that you could get more grip maybe, but you should trade off something else maybe. Yeah. That'd be pretty cool.
I think just the ability to turn into a skid would be nice.
Definitely.
The way you would in a car.
Yeah. I think that's it, isn't it? It's like the actual like vehicle model is reasonably sophisticated, but it lacks that kind of subtlety. You can't really change it. I kind of get the impression, I don't know if anyone else thinks this, but it's also a lot to do with the way that your controller is and how much like subtlety that you can put into it, because sometimes the teeniest of moves in low gravity can spin an SRV.
It depends how good the yaw is. I mean, I have a T16000M, so the yaw is on the joystick, and it's not particularly good.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. It's at the moment I'm playing with a gamepad, so it's not the most precise thing in the world. It's okay for like general purpose reasons. I'm going to get a new HOTAS at some point, but for now this will do. But yeah, I think also with anything that's like vehicle related, it's kind of different obviously characteristics to flying, and most HOTAS obviously set up, you know, for sort of flight related games, and obviously the steering wheels tend to be customized for, you know, obviously racing games, and so it's always somewhat of a compromise really, isn't it? But I know what you mean, it's like subtle changes to like the SRV rather than like a wholesale change. So I think part of the recent alpha, there have been complaints for some people that the SRV has become, just like too grippy and just too easy to drive. If anything, there's like all the challenges disappeared, but then that might be changing back again by the sounds of it, I think.
Oh, right. It's
Yeah.
like having drive assist on all of the time.
I'm not sure this is to do with driver assist. Apparently, this was just independent of driver assist. Now, if that was the case, that would be okay. If you had the option of having like an easy mode that was driver assist on, that would make some sense. Especially if you're new to the game, you don't really know the characteristics so much. But if you turn it off, which obviously most people have driver assist off, at least for explorers that I know, something like that would be cool. I think so that just more options really. Not like a huge list, but just some basic changes that you could make because obviously everyone's got different preferences of what they want. Some probably like a really like oversteery kind of vehicle, but some people might really hate that and want the complete opposite. So it would be good just to have, just some kind of adjustment. Considering how long it's been around, obviously I think Frontier have been waiting for Odyssey to make a lot of changes, and if there's going to be like new SRVs, then obviously the basic model should remain more or less the same, I would think, with like say variations on the theme. That would be cool.
Just for the rest of the game, I think I need to see more of Odyssey to know. I mean, there are loads of features coming in to Odyssey, not just the legs. So I'm not really that familiar with all of them yet.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, the first week I kind of lost that time more or less to the fact that it just wasn't running very well on my machine. It was horribly laggy and slow. Second phase, it's actually got a lot better. It's not perfect by any means, but it kind of runs. And now that you can use spacecraft, it runs a lot better. So I can allow to get access to like most of the features in there. I've not tried everything. I've not gone back to stations on foot yet, but I just prefer flying around as I do.
I just did a couple of delivery missions and then landed on a planet so that I could walk around, but I spent all of the time available setting up the controls for the SRV. So
that's cool. I just jumped over the Dav's Hope sign, so I was hoping to do that. I kind of hit it a little bit on the way down, so it explains why I'm going yay to myself.
I hit the V.
Fair enough. Yeah. I hadn't thought about that as an event, actually. That's something that you can definitely do. I mean, it's not too difficult to make the SRV jump over it, but I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get clearance.
You just have to start early enough.
I think so, yeah. I mean, the gravity here is pretty low. It's 0.09 G, so yeah, it's low. See if I can do it the other way around. Yeah, Trillic's going for it. Go Trillic. I think I've gone in too early. I've gone way too early. Now I hit the sign on the inside and have gone to the ground. Oh my.
You can...
It's fine though. I've only lost a little bit of hull, so I'm alright. I do a little bit of synthesis on this one. Plus I say that we've got God knows how many fleet carriers in this system, so it's going to be pretty easy to repair.
I turned the filter. I filtered them out when I arrived.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, it's very... I know in certain systems I do that as well. They're just riddled with fleet carriers, thinking that this is just interfering with my navigation, I don't think FDev ever imagined that this many fleet carriers would ever be bought, at least not at this stage of the game.
I was surprised that there were so many rich commanders in the game.
100%. This is I think some people use it as motivation to become very rich. So, yeah. I know what you mean. A lot of people had like billions in their accounts. I mean... By game standards, I'm not poor, but I'm nowhere near as wealthy as some people. By game standards, I'd be described as ordinary rich rather than super rich, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at the systems discovered tables. Chiggy von Richthofen, who is number one, he's got about 54 giga credits. So he's...
Wow. That's insane. And again, that guy's been going literally for years at a time out in the black. I mean, he is a machine bar none, basically. The fact that he's been doing this for years and years and years, just rarely returning to anyone, just to sell his data, basically. Now he can sell it at a fleet carrier in the middle of nowhere. He has no reason to ever return, well, to any human space, I suppose.
Yeah.
Fair enough, really.
I thought I was catching up to him until a week ago. Then he logged into EDSM and added another 7,000 systems.
Yeah. Ah, I'm trying to jump the whole length of Dav's Hope, and I think I managed to do that.
Uh,
Yay. I didn't actually realise I could jump that far, but you know what it is? Usually you're jumping, like on a planet like this or a world like this, and you've got no frame of reference other than, you know, other SRVs and maybe a ship. But it's kind of rare to have such a fixed frame of reference, because usually you just you're jumping like from here to, I don't know, the other side of a crater or something, and you think, oh, that's fairly far, but you're not really sure. But that's quite a long way actually. On foot, this is going to be quite interesting to see how Dav's Hope seems here, because obviously in any vehicle it's going to pass really quickly compared to walking, isn't it? A few NPCs doing the rounds here. Hello, NPCs. Yeah. Okay, cool. If anyone's got any particular requests for games or activities at the moment, I think everyone seems to be okay with just messing around for now.
That's quite a big mountain to climb.
It is. I'm not necessarily assuming we're going to do that. Sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't quite get it.
A race down the mountain.
That is also a possibility. Now, that might be more interesting in many ways. That wouldn't take as long. Now, those sort of almost, not quite death dive mountain descents, but they can get interesting. Very interesting. The thing is with the mountains, though... Go.
Not far away, there is a crater with the central peak that might be...
Ooh, yeah. That's a good point.
Might be doable.
Yeah. I was thinking one advantage I think that the Odyssey Alpha so far has given, that this spacecraft seems to be able to land in areas we couldn't previously because of the auto land feature. So that actually might be a bit easier getting into land on mountaintops, where we previously, only if you record your ship could you ever get it to land there. Now that would be interesting. But yeah, the sort of running down the mountain, yeah, that's a distinct possibility. The only problem with that is we've got to get everyone up there, and that is I think getting one ship at a time up there is possible. I don't know about multiple ships though. I mean, that's the only thing with this, you can't really just drop your SRV, which should really be a feature by now. But
or the challenge could be also climbing it as well.
Yeah, climbing takes a bit longer, that's the thing, isn't it? It's not an insane amount of time, but you know, we'll think about that one and maybe do it in a bit, because we've got to sort of get to the beginning of the mountain as well. Just thinking which is the best way up, which is the best way. We've kind of done this in the past because we've done a few mountain climbs at Dav's Hope. I think going from to where the I was going to say the right hand side, but from a bearing of about 80 degrees from Dav's Hope here, that kind of side of it, possibly. I can't remember actually which side is actually better to climb, or is it the other side? It's been a while since we've done that.
That looks quite steep.
To be fair, all the sides look pretty steep, so I'm not sure which one is best. The one at 350 degrees, that sort of start, that's relatively steep, but it maybe, I don't know, it looks initially okay, but then it kind of gets steeper. That's the thing with all these places, though. They often look really sort of foreboding, and then you get there and they're not, and vice versa. Some places look really easy, and they've been seriously hard places to climb, and you just didn't realise it. Yeah, so it's I do remember climbing it several times though.
That ridge on heading 330. I'm not sure how high that is, whether it'd be easy to race up that.
Well, should we just try that to see what happens? Actually, let's try and make the start point, maybe where your ship is, Andrew Linton, because that's a big start point. Oh, actually, maybe no. Let's start from Dav's Hope itself, actually. But that's sort of a fixed start-finish point, isn't it? Which we don't usually have on expeditions, because usually the thing is about obviously the
sign.
Ship. Yeah, exactly, under the Dav's Hope sign. Yeah, I was gonna say, because in expeditions your ship can go out of an instance with even a bunch of SRVs, and all of a sudden it's the finish line has disappeared, or the start line has disappeared. But yeah, if we go to the Dav's Hope sign and then try and race to bearing 330, that kind of ridge up there, to see how long it just takes us really. Because it might be an age, it might not. But see if we can do that.
So We'll probably lose our ships, but we can bring them back.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward, that bit, isn't it? I don't do as much pip changing on SRVs as I do with ships, but sometimes you do need it. Like, you don't need weapons for this, so it's the other two that need your energy. Yeah, that would be cool. So yeah, the let me see, 330. That's a good, easy, memorable sort of one. I'm actually under the Dav's Hope sign properly. I think so. Yeah, I'm just doing external view for the stream as well. Okay. There's only four of us here anyway, isn't there? So, has someone just dropped out as well?
I think Mark Harlock has gone.
Ah, it's a shame. He didn't really say anything either, which is a shame.
Yeah, actually, I suppose this kind of event is a good introduction to meetups for the expedition, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think before the actual full expedition, we'll do at least sort of one kind of, pre-meetup anyway. I think considering it's like a few months away, it might be an idea to have like maybe a couple more just for fun in places like this.
Well,
like
it also
the bubble,
makes sure that everyone's in FleetCom and, everyone's got at least one friend who's going to wing them.
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah.
Well, that always takes up a lot of time at a meetup, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Louise, I didn't actually see your chat there. I've been too busy looking when I was going in the SRV. My apologies to you. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point about space legs in the immersion of gameplay, absolutely. Yeah. He's talking about also being in FleetCom from Dove Enigma. Yeah. I think there's plenty of time before Apollo 15 leaves. It shouldn't be too difficult to get people into FleetCom. But I think you're right. It'd be a good idea to do some of these extra meetups just to make sure everyone's sort of, right and ready on the same page. Because there's always going to be that last-minute rush, isn't there, on every expedition? People trying to get into a private group at the last minute. Especially with FleetCom, you've got to give it at least a week before. Usually, probably two. But yeah, okay, so we're all here. Right, bearing 330 to the top of the ridge. And ready in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hit it. And Trellick has taken the lead, I think. Some of these things can be akin to like SRV flying rather than SRV racing, but I think the better racers seem to be like very adept at getting them to fly. I need more work on my technique in that regard. I think someone's angulating like the SRV forward, so you're using it more like a spacecraft. Well, you got the bottom thrusters.
That's the way. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, it is. I think over like longer distances, it's probably the easiest way to cover ground. And Trillick is taking a comfortable lead. Oh, and he's done a bit of a spin. So, and so have I. Skewed it slightly. I'm slightly off course now, actually. Yeah, Trillick is still in front of me. I think with SRVs, it's not just the sort of the flying part; it's the landing from the flying part that's a problem. There's no guarantee that it won't go wrong. Chassis integrity has been compromised. Sorry. Chassis integrity.
I believe if your front wheels hit the ground first, you're relatively okay.
This is true. Yeah, it's that weird phenomenon of the front being so much stronger than any other part of the SRV. For some bizarre reason. Who would make a vehicle with the front indestructible? Sorry.
Well, they also put pretty good paint on them because they never show any signs of wear.
This is a good point, actually. I hadn't really thought about that much. I think I'd thought about that literally years ago and then just like paid it no heed in the meantime. But Yeah, it is absolutely true. Like, the degradation on ships is ridiculous, but on SRVs, maybe the SRV's lifespan is so short frequently that they didn't really think about that. I don't know. Maybe. I think Andrew Linton is in there. I think he's going to get there first. I always resist the impulse to do the horse racing kind of commentary on these things. Anyone who's ever seen like British or even Australian horse racing is the sort of particular commentary style that they do. They speak incredibly fast and often in sort of almost mumbles as well. Sometimes it's very difficult to understand what they're saying because they are speaking often in jargon and very, very rapidly. And like, if you're not an aficionado of horse racing, it's often very hard to understand, especially the very old school British ones. It's like that, and he's off, you know, that kind of thing. I'm exaggerating for comic effect, I know, but it is kind of funny. I don't know if we've actually made the ridge or not, or is it beyond?
Well, I'm still climbing.
Okay, I think myself and Trillic are skewing ourselves all over the place. I think you're about half a kilometre ahead at the moment, Andrew Linton. So
I can see something shiny up ahead.
Ooh, shiny things. That sounds good. That sounds good. That's the thing. Sometimes you do randomly find things, you know, like not wrecked ships, but you know, was it canisters and things on occasion. Is there anything like that?
It's always fun out in the black to come across something.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, especially when you don't expect it.
What on earth were those people doing out here?
Yeah, especially when there's no human settlements near here. I wonder why. Yeah, exactly that. I think we've effectively like gone beyond where we were going to. We're just like now going across the other side of the mountain, which is fine, you know.
The thing now is to race back to Dav's Hope.
Yeah, I've got to actually land first. I'm still kind of in mid-air, so happy landings first. I've taken an extraordinary long. Ah, wow. I'm just trying to make sure I don't go splat now. Uh-huh. Yeah. I'm going to have to do some self-repair on this. Every time I think of repairing on these situations at meetups, I always remember certain commanders rolling down mountains, and while they're rolling, actually doing the constant repair. And literally some people have rolled down entire mountains like that, unable to stop themselves. Okay.
I did write a voice attack macro that lets me repair the SRV in mid-flight.
Oh, cool.
You know, if you're just off the ground for long enough, it'll do the repair before you hit the ground.
That's a really good idea, actually. Wish I thought of that.
But you need voice attack. You need to have voice attack.
No, I don't have voice attack, unfortunately. So, Dav's Hope is only. It seems longer than 6 kilometres, but we have been going up and down. I suppose that's in a straight line, isn't it?
Oh, 6.86. It is longer than 6 kilometres.
Yeah, it's got to be. I think because we're going, undulating through the terrain. Yeah, sure. Let's use Trillic as our start point when we race back. But yeah, Andrew Linton, you on that one? You can stay where you are, Trillic. It's okay. Right. I'm just quick looking through the text just in case.
Target Dav's Hope.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Yeah. Anyone else has joined the chat or anything? I'm just having a quick look before we get going again. So this is some of the complication that I sort of overlook very slightly with streaming this is got to look at the Discord and the actual in-game chat. So yeah, it's on stream chat actually, on stream chat and the in Discord one. But then again, on Expeditions, I'm going to be looking at one of those because we'll have to get different people to different things as we've done before. So yeah, it's all good. To those of you out there think you've organised Expedition, it's a great idea, but beware, it is a lot of work, and it's way more complex than you think it's going to be. It always is. I think event running generally in Elite is actually more complex than people think, but also there's some kind of NPC. Looks like it's coming this way. Okay, look, we're ready to race back, everyone. And just double checking the comms. Yeah, there's only 3 of us here, so that's cool though. Okay, ready to race in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. I must admit, because I'm the guy who usually calls when we go, I always hold back for at least half a second or more before actually hitting go beyond I say go, because I don't want to look like I've just taken advantage of everyone. I'm not a meanie like that, so yeah. If I happen to win the race in spite of that, then it's absolutely fine, but I don't want to gain an advantage by doing that. I've started rolling like a maniac now as well, so it's kind of funny. I know you've got thrusters, but you can only arrest momentum to some degree. You sometimes just got to let it fly. Or roll wherever it's rolling. And Commander Linton is again taking the lead.
Give you a start. I think I'm going to...
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
This is the thing, is that it's rare to see even the best SRV sort of riders, commanders, whatever you want to call them, actually not spin at least once or crash into a rock or do something that's a cost them time in these longer runs.
Yeah, because you...
It's the nature of the vehicle, really, isn't it? It's difficult to control.
And you never know which are the hard rocks and
Yes.
which are the soft rocks.
Very much, yeah. It's definitely a skill. I mean, I'm better at SRV racing than I am at fighter racing. For certain or sort of ship racing, I should say. I have tried that on occasion, and it's there's some people who specialise in it, and it is an amazing feat. Like, their FA off skills are like better than most people's FA on flying, so it's like it is quite amazing. I mean, like most people, I've tried FA off for periods of time, and you get better the more you do it, but it's not something I want to do every single day. Like, some people literally go around flying that way.
I just do that briefly in combat.
Yeah, makes sense in combat. No, that's exactly it. And the only times I ever seem to do it these days with any kind of regularity is for, like, as you say, turning around in combat. That's the main use for it. I think in PvP, if you didn't do that, you'd probably end up dead pretty quickly. In PvE, it can still be very useful, though. We're still quite a few kilometres away from Davsoat, though.
Two kilometres.
I'm about 3 kilometres distance, so you've got a lead on me. I think another thing about the SRV flying aspects of it is you've got to have good momentum going into it. Not just the height you can get, but the distance, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's definitely an art form in its own way.
Well, the skill of changing direction in mid-flight is an important one to have as well.
Oh, certainly, yeah. Not an easy thing to do, but yeah, it can be done.
We hit the buildings.
I think Trillic is also behind, but somewhere to my right. I don't know which of us is going to come second, but yeah, he's over there somewhere. Yeah, I'm flying a lot, but my forward momentum is not that great right now. And I've spun again, so yay me. It's always quite amusing how the NPCs are here. They seem to be kind of fairly excitable. They won't actually attack you, but yeah.
I think they just seem to fly around.
Yeah, it's like an air show, really. It's kind of funny. Like, they just want to look. It's like, well, what are you doing then, you know? Free air show, yeah. That's great. Yeah, I think you win that one, Commander Linton. Yeah. Back at Davsoat now. Okay. Just bear with me for a few moments. I just have to do something. Continue to spin around and be lunatics when I'm actually one. Don't know how many SRVs you've got. I only have the one at the moment, so with the fleet carriers nearby, it's probably a pretty good thing.
Seem to have lost my ship.
We were more than 2 kilometers away, so yeah, it will have dismissed itself.
Dismissed it when we were leaving because I saw it, but now it's just stuck at ship departing.
Oh, so you can't recall.
No, I may have to relog. Well, at least log out, log in.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm back in the room. I see the ship is returned. I haven't actually recalled mine yet.
A little issue with mine. So I'll be logging out, logging in.
Okay, fair enough. It's repairing mine from its little jaunt. I think climbing the mountain is possible. It's just it shouldn't. I guess it shouldn't take us too long. It's like 2 hours later. Yeah.
The distances are deceptive, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm just trying to sort of work out what the route's going to be, because I mean, your guess is as good as mine which side is going to be the easiest kind of way. I mean, I think as far as I remember, we last did this, we may have actually gone more or less up the middle. That somehow doesn't seem right though. That looks kind of steep. The truth is, I think we've been up so many mountains over the years, it's beginning to blur into one. Oh dear. I'm going to go to external camera just to get a better view of this actually, because it's very difficult to make judgments otherwise. I mean, normally speaking, I suppose the one to like the left-hand side of it from our perspective is probably going to be easier, I reckon. I mean, the one to the right, I mean, it's like a sort of secondary peak there, but I don't know. The approach looks easier from the left-hand side, definitely, I think. So, see what the bearing it's on, just so we're on the same page. One that's a bearing of about 350 degrees, that kind of approach.
350.
Yeah.
350. Oh, all the way over there. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So I'm saying, like, which side is like?
Yeah.
We've got three kind of main paths. We've got the one on the right hand side. This 350 one's on the left hand side, relatively speaking, and then there's up the middle. Up the middle seems the least likely of the three. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, because there's not an obvious choice. Usually there's like one obvious path up most mountains, but this one I don't think there really is. It's just like whichever way you're going to go, it's going to be kind of dicey.
Yeah.
Get back, please.
Right. Right. Does someone need a wing?
Yep. Trillic.
Cool. Invite to wing. Bingo. Sent you one. You should get it now. Cool. Superb. We'll wait till you sort of returned into the instance here, but
I shot me off somewhere. I think higher up the mountain, but I do have my ship now, so
that's good. And yeah, we'll wait till you get back into the instance for a bit. What I might do is I might put the stream onto a break for like 5 minutes. Actually, that's probably the best idea, because if we all take a break now, apart from Trillic obviously trying to get back in, I'll allow Trillic to get back into the instance. And that should be okay by that point. So, yeah, fingers crossed. I'll return in 5.
Instance, I'm a bit of a ways. pop out and pop back in, see if I can get back in. I'm not in the same.
My information is that you're still in the wing.
And welcome back. Sorry about the delay. Just been fiddling around with some settings on the stream. As I say, like, streaming is a relatively new thing to me in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah. Meetups and expeditions are very familiar to me, but not streaming. This is like the second or third week I've done this, so it's early days to say the least. I think I'm doing okay overall. Today's been slightly more problematic than normal, but it's just one of those things. Okay. Is everyone ready to go? Okay, to the guys here at the mountain, you lined up, ready to go?
Yep, ready to go. Heading of 350, is that right?
That's right. Yeah, we sort of approach it that way, then kind of like turn kind of right once we get to the bottom. Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be. This way it comes down to mountain climbing. It's more of an interesting race because it's more about personal choice. Because obviously, if you're racing normally, you've got different lines you can take. But mountain, there's so many more possible sort of lines and approaches and different ways that you can do things. Okay, awesome, guys. Right, let's get going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. I expect to get overtaken any second, to be honest with you. That's just the way of things. Yeah, my forward momentum is not as great as I would like. Commander Trinick takes the lead. And I think...
Mountain, right?
Yeah, and I think myself and Andrew Linton are neck and neck. Closing on Trinick a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. This is going to be interesting to see who scrambles up the top on this one. I think even an SRV, some of it's still power management, isn't it? Pit management. Not as much to the spacecraft, but it's still an issue, you know. It's still a skill that takes time to master. That's the thing. I would say I'm like a reasonably decent like spacecraft pilot. I wouldn't say I'm a particularly great SRV driver though. Refueling as I go. Thing is, I'm not actually that bad at various sort of car games. It's just the SRV, for whatever reason, doesn't really suit me very well. If you, actually, funny enough, that's the thing is, if you compare it even to like, you know, vehicles in various car racing games, especially on PC or even like, yeah, PS4 or what have you, it's this is a twitchy vehicle, especially in low gravity. But then again, you don't like go racing like Formula 1 cars in 0.09 gravity, do you? You know, so they probably wouldn't do very well under these circumstances, I'm sure, despite all the downforce they have. So there you go. I think you guys are off to the right hand side of me, so. Have you guys started to climb up the side already, or have I taken a slightly strange route?
It's still fairly level just here.
Yeah. It is a bit. We're still at the foothills, as it were. These sort of alien mountain ranges, I mean, they look pretty spectacular, I think. And that's one thing I haven't really seen in the Odyssey Alpha yet, is like a full-on proper mountain. I've seen some like, you know, large hills, that kind of low mountains, I suppose, but nothing really like that significant. but maybe that's something that I'll have to find in the near future, just to get like a comparison. Because I think lots of regular terrain, it's like really detailed and much more sort of, I don't know, realistically generated in Odyssey Alpha. I think those of you out there on the stream as well, and just out there in the game, those who don't actually have the Alpha bought, it's you still probably picked up enough from like watching streams and various videos of different people, and there's lots of very good YouTubers out there, like the Obsidian Ants, Down to Earth Astronomy of this world, etc., who've done some great videos. I mean, those guys do great videos anyway, but obviously like Down to Earth Astronomy is a bit more sort of instructional, as in like helping you with details of the game as well. And Obsidian Ant's more about like the broad kind of aspects of it, mostly. Yeah, they're both well worth watching. I suppose those two. Obsidian Ant, the most successful streamer out. Sorry, not a streamer, a YouTuber in the league.
So.
Yeah, it's either him or Down to Earth Astronomy. Probably it's one of those two, isn't it? I think probably Nyamix is third after that, something like that, and based upon like the amount of followers they've got, subscribers. Okay, just spun around completely. Yeah, I see you two guys are sort of over that side, kind of climbing upwards. I may have actually slightly misjudged this mountain climb. I will start climbing my best route up here.
I'm just following Trillic.
Fair dues.
Don't know if it's a good route or not.
Well, this is the thing, you never know until you actually reach the top and beat the other guys. You never really know what is good and what isn't, or until you get stuck in some place and think, why did I pick this route? What was I thinking? See, that would look like a genius, It's interesting also
60 degree.
Okay. The sort of background noises as well of the SRV. You just sort of hear them gradually. Not just
70 degrees and I can't go any further.
I've just had like a massive moment in the air and now I'm rolling down backwards. That's not so good. Okay, and there's an NPC for some reason.
Heading at 65 degrees seems to be about the limit.
I'm trying to like not fly through the air as much as I normally do, because on mountains it doesn't always get you where you want to be. Sometimes it does, but maybe sometimes it doesn't. I seem to be
my
falling
way up the mountain.
Oh no. I just seem to be falling back down again. I'm just going to stick to going on to like surface contact from now on, unless I'm in trouble. You can do SRV flying up a mountain to a degree, but only to a degree. It's worth trying different approaches though, always. I must admit also this whole streaming thing, it feels a lot more easy and natural when I've actually got an audience of people to talk to in game as well, because I suppose I'm just used to that in expeditions and even like racing events that I've been to as well. I think I'll try a different approach now. I'm going more sideways across. This terrain, it looks easier than it actually is. It doesn't look that hard once you're down amongst it, but the SRV's not gripping very well. So it probably means it is.
No, there aren't great pits that you can fall into.
Yeah. It's not one of those, yeah. It's one of those things though, when you're actually on a very steep part of a mountain, you often don't realise how steep it is until you actually start looking at the little graphic or the amount of degrees, on your HUD.
Yeah.
Because it's just all relative, isn't it? It doesn't look that bad thinking that, oh, I'm like an inclination of 60 degrees. This is actually quite steep. I'm sure there's probably like mountain climbing specialists out there and SRVs who are probably laughing at us right now. The thing is, I've never really met that many people who describe themselves as such. They probably are very good at it, they just don't, you know, consciously think of themselves that way. It's not really something that people competitively do other than on expeditions, I think.
It's making all kind of weird noises trying to get up this mountain.
Yeah, that's about normal, to be fair. I'd be surprised if it didn't.
You don't realize how steep you are either until you kind of look at your degrees and,
Well, absolutely.
or the radar.
100%, yeah. It's very easy to sort of underestimate your terrain, as you say, because of you just don't realise, because you look like, oh, I'm making progress. Yeah, I must be doing all right. But it's you are. It's just that it's very steep, and if you weren't in an SRV, you'd immediately fall off. That's an interesting question, actually. I've not been up a mountain yet in the alpha test, and I will try that to see like how much grip that kind of slope would a spacesuit have. I'm going to guess a lot less than an SRV will. But how much less? You know. I'm going to guess more than a real life spacesuit, but less than an SRV. As I say, I haven't really seen any like spectacular mountains yet. To be fair, I've not really been looking for them that much. I've just been looking for different kinds of terrain and seeing what's what. I think Matt Winston pointed out recently, as a few other people have, that these areas of like squares, like there's basically like pixelation or large scale pixelation that seems to be happening on certain terrain. It depends on your graphic settings and a few other things, but it seems to be a lot of people have this when they're flying over a world in Odyssey Alpha. But yeah, it obviously shows that the graphics is still needs work, and you know, isn't really optimized either. I mean, I think after a while it often resolves properly, but it doesn't always, that's the thing, so it's still a serious issue.
The recommended specifications are a bit more rigorous, aren't they, for
100%,
Odyssey?
yeah.
I know I think GTX 970 is probably going to not be quite good enough.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, my specs are above, I would say comfortably above, but far above enough the minimum. I would have thought it would have been not such a problem, but as I say, a lot of this is down to where the code base is. I think the code base is just not optimal at all, and there's so many areas of it. Yeah, it's just, as you say, it does depend so much on your setup and like obviously what processor you've got, what graphics card you've got, how much memory you've got on said graphics card.
Well, my GPU was at 100% CPU usage on just walking around a starport.
Yeah, I found that kind of weird actually. That I would have thought, just as a rule of thumb, like 3D generation for like walking around on a planet's surface in your suit or flying through space would have actually been a higher graphical load than actually just walking around a space station. But for some reason, I think it's because it's just so unoptimized. The graphics load is just graphic memory load is absolutely astonishing. The GPU load is pretty steep as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much universal by the sounds. I think you notice like the really high-end streamers or video makers who have got like, you know, 30, 80 kind of graphics cards. They're doing okay, but even then you can tell it's not as smooth, or the frame rate's not as good as you'd expect. And that's at really powerful graphics cards as well. I'm kind of moving slightly like upwards but sideways in a sort of diagonal fashion.
I'm making almost no progress.
I can see you guys, you're about 1.5k away from me, but you're doing a very similar thing to me, as in like doing this diagonal sort of, it's almost like a sort of fly, you know, trying to move across a wall or something.
Yeah, I think I'm keeping the slope supposedly at about 35 degrees, and it's managing to climb a little bit.
Yes, the thing is, it doesn't look that steep, but then you look at the outside and the little holographic thing, and the degrees on your HUD, and you realise it's like this is quite precarious, really. No wonder I'm not making any progress.
If you look down to Dav's Hope, you get an impression of...
Yeah, 100%, yeah. At the moment, I'm slightly kind of skidding downwards. I've arrested the fall now, but it's very easily done. And you say your sideways progress is getting to the point where it's kind of minimal. I think I'm in a very similar area to you guys, by the looks.
Well, we'll just have to go down to the beginning and try another route.
If we can't crack this in the near future, yeah, I suppose so. But I think, according to the Hollow reading, I'm not insanely far from the top. But again, sometimes those are like,
Oh, that's quite deceptive. That will just go on and on, I think.
Yeah, and it can be very misleading, can't you? You think, oh, I must be nearly there, but you're just not, Yeah, I think it's deliberately like that. You gotta laugh. I think this is part of the fun of expeditions as well, the whole sort of, struggling against the elements or just laughing at your own sort of predicament, really. Other people like falling down mountains.
It's interesting, in reverse you can get up to nearly, about minus 70 degrees you can make some progress. For a little while, and then it stops.
It's just such a comical thought, having to reverse up a steep slope on a mountain. It's like, it's not the most obvious thing to do,
Alright, I'm with Trillic now, so
cool.
Oh, there he goes.
I'm rolling. Oh shite.
Oh my. It's so easily done.
All the ground I gained, I just lost all of it.
It's so easily done.
Lose a few hundred meters doing that.
Yeah, I think always the key with these is trying to just minimise the slip that you get. I know sometimes you just lose all traction and you just fall off the mountain. There's nothing you can do about it. But yeah,
I don't often use the handbrake, but sometimes it's the best.
Yeah,
the best thing
I rarely use the handbrake either. But you say once in a while it does come in useful. I know the SLV is supposed to have little thrusters attached to the sort of wheel hubs to keep in these kind of situations probably keeps you from falling down the mountain, I expect. But yeah, really doesn't seem to work the rest of the time in keeping you attached to the surface, does it? When we were just driving around earlier. Let's say only start firing when you're actually at a steep angle. Maybe that's it. Maybe they just don't fire the rest of the time. Would make sense, wouldn't it? Well, sense from the game's perspective anyway. Not sense from any other perspective. I'm going to turn my night vision on because I've just gone into a sort of shadowy place. The Shadow Realms.
Seem to be stuck in turret mode at the moment. Can't get out of it.
It seems like Horizons has still got its fair share of bugs. Even after all these years. Man, I'm at the near perpendicular now. This is steep. Very steep. I don't know if the SRV is going to make it over this kind of ridge where I am. I'm still going diagonally, barely going diagonally. I'm literally going at 1 meter a second, whatever it is, if that. I don't think I'm even doing that, to be honest. I can hear the motors going, but nothing's actually happening. I'll try and go sideways again. If you're at full throttle and you're still going backwards. It happens. Yeah, I can kind of see the terrain off to one side. And how steep the position I am in at present. I can see Trillic down these 300 meters beneath me, just off to one side, so yeah.
Yeah, I see you just a few hundred meters away.
Yeah, this was not the best way to climb it. None of us have made particularly good choices here.
No.
I don't remember this one ever being this steep in any of our other previous climbs. Maybe we've made completely the wrong. Like I said, this we were saying earlier about you can never predict with these mountains. Sometimes they look like that side looks like it's climbable, and then you get there and you find it's not, and then the other way around happens. You think that this is going to be so hard, and you get there and it's like this isn't too bad actually. And now I'm falling off.
Well,
I only can get 80 degrees for a
both-
certain amount of time.
well, we're all fairly close together. Maybe we should
Yeah.
race back to Dav's Hope.
That might be an idea, actually. At this rate, we're not going to reach the top anytime soon, so yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Well, I'm
I
baking
think
bread
I'm,
in
at the
morning,
moment I'm
so
just...
I've gotta-
Oh, fair enough.
You're on the way down.
If you need to go
All
off
the way
for a
down.
little while, I'm going to have to repair very quickly before I die, because otherwise I'm not going to last much longer. I'm now rolling down like a maniac. I've come to a stop now, I think. No, I haven't. That was wrong. I'm still rolling. It was just flying through the air. I thought I had that false hope that I was going to be okay. I think it's turning into one of those times I'm just repairing as I go. I'm not going to survive otherwise.
You're
Oh, it's good for the
a
stream
little bit
anyway.
like a gyroscope at the moment.
Oh my, this is
I
amusing.
made a grave mistake by accidentally jumping, and it just flew diagonally downwards. It's so misleading because you feel like you're flat almost, but you're
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
at a 75-degree angle.
It does look flat, doesn't it?
I've fallen about 2 kilometers down because last time I looked, I was on level with Trillic, and now I'm literally 2.6 kilometers away from Trillic. So I've lost the 2.3 kilometers of distance. Most that's vertical, I think, actually. So yeah,
Yes.
Yay, I'm winning, finally.
What is
yeah.
the
If you want to keep going to the top, that's
coast?
cool. But otherwise than that, it's like, yeah, I think we might as well abandon this attempt because it's just that. I mean, you can't hang on. You can barely hang on to 80 degrees. You try and move,
Oh,
you're
I'm
just going to
stuck.
lose traction and fall, which myself and Trillic have already done. Yeah, we're about 5-6k from
I'm
Dav's
pretty
Hope.
sure I'm about to just turn around and try to go straight down.
Yeah, that's fine. No worries. Yeah, now I'm looking at this sort of ridge that goes to near Dav's Hope. Now, that might have been a more sensible one to go up, unless that would have led to the same place, which it might well have done. Ah, dear. Yeah.
Okay, I'm coming down to you guys. Oh boy.
There you see
I don't know how I'm going to stop. But besides
as
running into the side of the...
Andrew Linton was saying earlier on, yeah, it's like this is a kind of taste of what a lot of expedition meetups are like. It's just there are lots of laughs, and not that they're unintentional as well, but you kind of find humour in it as well, and they're definitely fun, you know.
Goodbye, Andrew.
Here you go.
He's quite near
there we
me
go.
now, so yeah, he's
How good
flying
this landing
over
going to
me.
be? Oh, Jesus.
Just watch out.
Oh
Nearly
my
hit me.
god.
I trundle back to Dav's Hope now, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm trying to survive this.
I did 4, I think, repair jobs on the roll, so yeah, just to be on the safe side.
Six kilometers to Dav's Hope.
I think the record for rolling down a mountain is about 20 kilometers of rolling and repairing. So yeah, that's a long way.
Okay. I would say that's a success after only 20% damage.
That's not bad. I had to do another repair just then because I started rolling again.
I definitely can't wait for all the shenanigans then when Odyssey comes out.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. I'm just, you may have heard some of the rumours that have been going around recently that there's a possibility Odyssey itself might be delayed because of the amount of issues that have been coming up because of the alpha test. I mean, that seems plausible. I don't know if it's definitely going to happen or not, but obviously, if you're in Frontier's position, well, you've got two choices. You either delay it and hopefully put out a product that is less buggy, or do the other way around, more buggy and sooner. But I don't know. But this is the thing. If it obviously launches before Apollo 15, then we'll use it, and if not, then we won't. But yes, but the idea is we're gonna use a sort of core Horizons expedition anyway, and anything we can add on top of that for Odyssey is going to be a bonus. Because a lot of
Yeah, I
people
don't
are
think
not going to have
not
Odyssey.
even not everyone may have it either. So.
Well, this is exactly it. This is the reason that it has to really be at least the skeleton of the expedition has to be a Horizons one, just because of that fact. And not everyone's going to have that, because when Odyssey does launch, the planets are going to be sort of redrawn, I suppose is the right term. And those are going to be interesting. But this is why we've held off doing any significant scouting yet. Normally we'd probably be like deep into scouting by about now, but at the moment it's futile, because if Odyssey launches before the release, even all the the regular Horizons planets are going to be remodeled anyway, so any scouting we do is going to be for naught. So we're going to wait till we know for a fact when the release date is going to be, and then like start scouting for it.
That's what I didn't realise from what you said before, that the new modelling will be in Horizons.
Yeah, that's not obvious. It's a bit like what happened to the base game when Horizons came out. They kind of remodeled, not the planets, but the spacecraft itself, and kind of gave you a little taste of what Horizons would be like. Like you could approach a planet and like almost begin the start of glide, but not quite. It would never finish it. It would like abandon it after a certain point. And it's similar to that. It's like Horizons the planets are being remodeled by the technology that's being used to do the new Odyssey planets. So everything in the game is being changed in that regard. So other than that, because at the moment I did actually personally start doing some scouting in Horizons for Apollo 15, but then I stopped as soon as I realised that it might potentially be futile. So until I knew what was definitely going on, I had to hold off. So yeah, in theory, if you've got an airless body, let's say like this planet's a good example, Dow's Hope, whatever. Dow's Hope, the base will probably remain unchanged, I reckon, in the new remodeled game for both, Horizons and Odyssey. But obviously, how
detail,
different that will
probably.
be, exactly, a lot of detail will be changed. But then key geographical features may be different. For example, the mountain may still be there in the new remodeling, but it might be different. I don't know if it'll be radically different or not, because obviously we won't know the details for a while yet. But because we can't visit a lot of the places we can, unless you happen to know the places that are in like the 20 light year bubble or the future 50 light year bubble for phase 3 and 4. Then you might be able to realise what it'll do to the terrain. Because I'm trying to look for places that I know, like here, and so I can kind of measure the differences. But yeah, the whole of the game is being remodeled essentially. Now, as far as I understand, there's like lots of the Horizons at a code level is also going to be changed to take into account lots of Odyssey things, like the lighting model's changing. It's another big thing. You've noticed, no doubt, that in the Odyssey Alpha, the lighting model is totally different. Everything's a lot darker, basically. A lot of that's to do with VR, I think, because a lot of people were blinded in VR by stars or by, FSD drives. And that's the way it is.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you guys are right just before me. That's cool. But yeah, so yeah, the remodeling, because when I first heard that, I thought, seriously, that's what they're doing? I had to ask twice, is that actually what we're going to be doing, that all the Horizons planets are going to be remodeled as well? And apparently that is the case. So here we are.
Let's say some planets have really deep trenches or things like that. That may be completely gone, so
from the comments,
we're really up to the whim.
Yeah, that Dr. Ross, who's in charge of this element of the game, the planetary generation system, this is not so much like a direct quote, but more of their inference, I should say, or their hints. They're sort of saying that places, like you say, with the deep canyons, like Pomesh is a good example, as a very sort of famous canyon. Those canyons will still exist, but they might not be the same as they are now. Or like a planet, let's say, it's got a big mountain ranges like here. Those mountains will be there, but they will look different. They didn't say in what way different, but I think so the basic characteristics, by the sounds of it, of individual worlds won't be altered, but you might recognise them if you took a picture one day before and another day after when the full game came out. So that's the way
we'll
I
know
think
for
it's going.
sure.
Yeah.
On phase 4, because phase 4 we can then start doing comparisons.
As far as I understand, Phase 4 is still limited to 50 light years, though.
No. Phase 3 is 50 light years. Phase 4 is your character duplicated.
Yeah, but only in the visual sense, not in the terms of you can actually explore. I haven't seen anything that indicates we can actually explore
Really?
the whole galaxy. I mean, unless someone's seen something that I haven't, it doesn't mention you can fly anywhere in your ship. It just means that your hollow me is going to be, and your existing sort of account is going to be sort of duplicated onto the Odyssey Alpha server. But that's it. I haven't seen anything that indicates we can fly out to where. Otherwise, I'd be very much thinking places like Dow's Hope would be a great place to test it. But unless it happens to be part of the 50 light year bubble, as I say, unless someone has actually found something that contradicts that, that's just the way I interpreted it. But I could be wrong.
Well, we could still do comparisons
of course,
in game and out of game in 50-year light bubble. Just to see.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what a lot of people will end up doing, myself included. You say just going to the same place.
We'll know by the time the Apollo 17 50th anniversary comes around.
Oh wow, that's actually not that far away. That's only about a year from now.
Well, I hope that's enough time to do some scouting with the new model.
I was just thinking, actually, I was doing the whole Gagarin thing earlier on, because I was doing it in real time earlier today, but it was, apart from the ungodly hour, I was thinking that it's literally been, it was only 10 years from his first flight to Apollo 15. And like 8 years from between his flight to Apollo 11. That's insane.
That's amazing, isn't it?
And especially Apollo 11, it's like 8 years. I mean, it was like, the kind of technological evolution only really happened in maybe like World War II, I think. Just an insane amount of technological progress in such a short period of time. It's kind of mad, really. Shows you what you can do with a good amount of resources and motivation, What I'm going to do is I'm going to get in my ship and try and fly down the high street here. That should be fun. I think a fight can definitely pass between here.
I need to go soon.
Oh, fair enough.
Yannick.
Yeah, okay.
Hope that's okay.
No worries at all. I mean, I'm just happy if anyone turns up at these, because to be fair, this was quite short notice, so I don't particularly blame anybody at all. I'm going to recall my ship anyway, and I'm just going to be messing around here. Okay, so yeah, if you need to go, just please do. No worries at all. Okay, yeah, I'm going to try and fly down the street here and see what happens. So that's all cool. But yeah, I think we're all just looking forward to the next phases, really, aren't we, of where Odyssey is. I've noticed some streamers and video makers have very much been into this sort of first-person shooter part of it, just because it's kind of unusual and we've never seen it in Elite before, and other people have just like started to just stick to their conventional, like flying in their ship through space and doing explorer type things, and that's fair enough too. I think I'm more comfortable doing that still, but
well, I am too. I'm not really into first-person shooter games.
I'm fine with them. It's just like in terms of context, there's a lot better first-person shooters out there. I mean, I don't mind them at all. I've played quite a few and enjoyed quite a few, but I haven't played one for a while, so I'm kind of, those skills are a bit rusty anyway. And in Elite, it's a nice kind of bonus if you want to do that. It's great, but I don't view it as like a key part at all, really.
Because like when Frontline Solutions, that Alpha Phase 2 came out, I have no intention of actually even trying it. I've just been flying around in my ship enjoying the new graphics, and every so often going on landfall or exploring or doing missions, but rarely ever shooting. This isn't really a game that I'd look into that for, you know what I mean?
Sure thing. I mean, as you say, it's like different people like different things, and I'm more of sort of your frame of mind when it comes to, this game. Oh, Derek John's in the chat. Hello, Commander. So you can join us. Yeah, this is the thing, trying to pay attention to several things at once. I sometimes don't keep up with the chat properly. But sorry about that. But yeah, it's as you say, it's like the combat part. I mean, some people sort of live for combat in these games, but certainly not one of them. I was thinking for like FPS games, I'd play something like, Quake or Doom or whatever, the various versions of that, I think that when I first saw, the Phase 1, that the graphics weren't really working that well. Not on my machine anyway. I was thinking that this graphics is like the equivalent of like something like Quake 2, which was made in 1999 or something. Like, yeah, this isn't good, But then again, I was thinking that this is so badly optimized at this point, it's way too early to make a judgment on it. But yeah, I'm not even like combating at this point. I was just literally walking around the station. But it did get better, to be fair. So it has improved a lot.
It was it's a number of control bindings required.
That's the thing as well.
It put me off a little bit at the start.
I'm actually sure.
If you don't...
Go on.
Sorry, go on.
No, the only thing I was going to say just very quickly was I think even playing like Doom and Quake and things, there are actually fewer controls for those, and those are full-on combat games.
Yeah, well, as somebody who doesn't play FPS games, having all of a sudden sort of 15 or 20 controls to bind and not really knowing what they're for.
Like I totally agree.
The wheel.
I think for any game that's a problem if you've got too many controls. This is the thing, if there were too many controls full stop when you don't need them, I mean, for a spacecraft, it's kind of similar to a flight sim, so it's understandable why you have quite a lot of controls for it. But for just running around and doing things, I mean, there should be more sort of multifaceted like things. Like you click on something with your cursor or what have you, rather than have to learn 3 separate controls to do that. It's the amount of grenade functions. Why do I need 3 separate grenade functions? I think it was 3 anyway, something like that. It's like, why isn't it just like press the button to fire a grenade, hold the button down for longer to throw the grenade underarm or whatever, There's lots of very simple ways of doing this.
Yeah, and I don't mind the first person perspective part of things. I actually quite enjoy that.
Cool.
I would love to be able to walk around my ship. That would be nice.
Definitely.
But yeah, I want more exploration stuff. I want more non-combat material to do on those 2 legs of mine.
Finding biology on the surface.
Yeah. I'm curious for this Phase 3. That's why I want to see just how nice it is. Too thrown in,
Yeah, no,
Plus
absolutely.
I was put off a little bit at the start with the number of upgrades. My first upgrade did take about 3.5 hours to download, and then the next morning there was like a hot fix, and you had to upgrade again. But,
I know what you mean. A hot fix is a hot mess. Funnily enough, I was casually watching a British streamer, who was like doing like late in the evening, and literally his stream was disrupted because they did a hot fix in the middle of it, and he couldn't play the game anymore on alpha. So I was like, that's annoying.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty stable actually on my half, but I've been lucky, I guess. So I don't know.
I think it depends on this is the thing. It depends on so many factors, not just what your machine's got, but also I think the quality of your local internet connection as well. That's a big thing. I mean, if you've got a very good connection there, that's like half the battle, I think.
Yeah, I've been stable, but I've had lots of like just annoying bugs,
Yeah. No, it's understandable.
I suppose that really is what the alpha testing and whatever beta testing we have, that's what it's for, really, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Beta test was going to be, would be the complete game, basically, wouldn't it? Just with a few sort of to be fixed and what have you, but it's not really that yet. I wonder if they are going to put a beta out before they actually put the full release. Makes you wonder. But there's lots to look forward to anyway. I say we're still only in Phase 2, and I think Phase 3 is going to begin, the end of this week, I think? Something like that.
Right.
I don't know that 100%.
I'm just flying up to the... oh, wow. This mountain we were trying to climb. Have you seen this? The summit?
I'll go there now.
We were never going to get up. We were never going to get up there.
I do remember climbing.
Very good dreams. There's no way we would
No,
have
we
hit the
definitely did
summit.
this before, actually. There was a meetup. I think it was... This was actually quite a while ago. This was like 2017, 2018. When we were here. I think for like being like a reunion of Mercury 7 or something. It was literally that long ago. And we did this, I think, as like a meetup location. And we did get to one of these peaks. I don't know which one it was, though. I can't remember. But we definitely managed to climb up here.
There's no way.
One of them we managed to get to. I don't know, because there's a few of them around here, isn't there? This is much more jagged than I remember it.
Pretty sure I'm not going to be able to land my Corvette at the summit.
Yeah, that
I
seems
don't
the
think I
odds are
can land
against
my-
that.
I don't think I can land my courier at the summit.
Yeah, I'm in a curry and I'm not sure some of these places can be landed upon. Maybe I could just about get one, I suppose, but... Yeah, I'm not really sure the new Autoland will make some of these places. Yeah, I do agree. Some of these places look like they're unclimbable by SRVs. Unless we just got near the top on that one, that meetup, and just kind of gave up near the top. That sounds quite likely, actually. But yeah, a lot of these places do seem to be extremely steep.
So it does look like Hadley Rill over there
Haha.
on the heading of 150.
Let's have a look. I'll get to where you are and have a look down. Was it you that actually you said you did like a master's degree thesis or something on Apollo 15 back in the day?
Oh, it was an undergraduate degree. It was
cool.
photographic analysis,
That's pretty
size
awesome.
frequency distributions of craters.
What's the bearing again? Where you're looking?
Yes. Just 150. Yeah, 150.
Cool.
160.
No, the very fact that you did that, like on a degree course, is just amazing. Especially, I mean, not that long after this actually happening as well. It's that's pretty cool, you know.
Yeah, I was at Lancaster University in an environmental sciences degree, and there was Dr. Gilbert Fielder there who had various contracts from NASA to perform these investigations.
Wow, that is quite astonishing. Yeah, I think it's obviously Apollo 15. I very deliberately chose it because I think a lot of space fans and space historians do seem to view that as, like, at the very least, the most dramatic of the Apollo missions, if not the very sort of pinnacle of it, which is my own sort of personal take on it. But you can kind of see why. I mean, just the terrain alone, you've got the mountains there, the Apennine
Just the
mountains.
features that
Exactly.
were there compared with
Yeah.
getting a bit bolder for the later missions.
Well, this is it. I think by this point you're getting to the J missions where they've got the upgraded lander, and you can just take more equipment with you, and they're a bit more confident as well to be able to land in like rugged places, because I'll put it in the Discord in the future, but I'm pretty sure I've shown you, Kit, that animation where they actually fly literally between the mountains on they're almost like
yes.
horizontal in the, and it's just so amazing to think you're flying in this really, really fragile lander that's almost like tinfoil, and you have the balls to do that, and it's like, that's just extraordinary. And it's, yeah, they were just amazingly well trained and amazingly motivated, 'cause even by test pilot standards, you're doing this around the moon with no hope of rescue if anything goes wrong, and
Being
yeah,
guided by a pocket calculator.
basically.
Yeah, that's what's amazing.
It totally is, isn't it? I mean, I think it's the most astounding thing that, you know, our phones have like thousands of times the power of their whole computer systems, and they did it, you know, half a century ago. And it just seems extraordinary, doesn't it? It's but yeah, you've got the mountains, you've got the rill, basically dried up lava beds, and then you've got the plane in between the two where the spacecraft lands. And I mean, it's one of those things that it would make such a brilliant film. I can't believe they've never made a film about it, because it's like, it's amazing. It really is. I mean, talking about alien landscapes, that absolutely is. It's not just the most spectacular place Apollo or any human expedition has ever been to. It is, like, by far. I mean, some of the other ones, like the next best ones, is probably like Apollo 17 for the Taurus Littrow Valley. That was pretty good, but there's not really a patch on like Hadley Rill. I don't know if you've seen. I also put this one in Discord as well. But there's like there's the HBO series a few years ago, Earth to the Moon, and they sort of reenacted the meeting between like NASA management and these geologists, and then one of the people on this, also the mission commander. And essentially, they're all having like a row between all these different specialists, saying that this side is better. No, that's because they've got these two landing sites. One of them's Hadley, and the other one's somewhere else. And ultimately, it comes down to Dave Scott, the commander, who then like just convinces them, is like, yeah, we feel confident we can land at Hadley. It's much more spectacular. And the guys are going, yeah, it's much more dangerous though. It's like, yeah, but we think we can do this. If we think we can do this, why do you have a problem about it? Kind of attitude, And it's just the boldness of doing this. I mean, Apollo 11 was obviously the first, and it was brave in its own way. But it's just like, this is a whole new level. That's why I've always described it as like the zenith, because it is. I mean, today, obviously, I think Artemis will end up going beyond it at some point, and other missions will. But for now, it remains like the pinnacle of human space exploration. When I see footage of it, it always astounds me. Yeah.
Doing those risky things so relatively soon after Apollo 13.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is a difficult decision.
Yeah, I mean, Apollo 14, remember, was basically like Apollo 13 rerun. It was the same landing site they were going to go to on Apollo 13, but it was such a scientific significance that they felt they had to land there, you see. So what was Apollo 14, I think, was basically scrubbed and not used. There's a few landing sites that they wanted to go to, but the Apollo program was shortened by Congress. So, yeah, they ended up having to, you probably know some of the story anyway, but having to sort of like work out of the remaining missions which of these sites are the highest priorities. Hadley Rill was one of them, because originally it wasn't going to be Apollo 15 for Hadley Rill. That was going to be like Apollo 17, I think, possibly Apollo 16, because the original idea was up to Apollo 20 for the lunar landings, and there were going to be other places. I mean, one point they even talked about going to the Tycho crater on the far side of the moon, which they've had to have like a comm satellite to relay information between the ground and them. But it'd have been more expensive and even more risky than Apollo 15 was. But yeah, it's amazing what they did in those last few years, as you say. Once they got like the landings down, I think like Apollo 14 onwards, they got quite bold. Like 14 was the first Highland landing. 15 was literally the mountains of the moon. Or in the shadow of the mountains of the moon, I should say. And then I think 16 was another Highland landing, and then 17 it was a valley, but you're between these sort of hills and mountains either side, and that's really spectacular as well.
I suppose the aim was to find as many different geological settings as possible. Go to sites that offer you a good range of geology.
100%, yeah. As you say, like all these different locations had something special about them that people wanted to investigate. I think those last three missions, the J missions, 15 through 17, were partly sort of orientated towards the scientific community, and especially the geologists, who obviously tended to have, like, of all the scientific community, the first the first say, I suppose, in where they were going, what they were doing, because obviously that's the biggest science that you can do on the moon, was collect various samples. You could do obviously some other kind of tectonic work, and there's other bits and pieces that you can do with astronomy as well, but it's mostly going to be geology, isn't it, realistically? But that was a big thing.
Yes, actually, you have a geologist on the ground choosing the rocks to bring back.
That was the amazing thing about what happened though with those last missions, because Harrison Smith, the geologist, actually only went on the last flight because the scientific community kind of insisted that NASA take him. So, no, why did you hire him as an astronaut if you're never going to take him? It's the last mission, you've got to take him, and they did, but it took till the end before they actually took an actual geologist to them.
Well, we're still seeing it just up to then. Perhaps.
Yeah. I think they did improve the geological training and scientific training for the astronauts before that, but obviously they wanted actual scientists as well. I mean, it was always said about the lunar module pilot's position, though, that could be any intelligent person could really be trained to do that. But yeah, it was a shame that the lunar landings were stopped by funding cuts when they were, because obviously they could send more scientists to the moon than they did. But yeah, all this stuff we'll cover on the Apollo 15 expedition, and in many ways, I mean, Apollo 11 was all about the expedition and the actual mission, all about the sort of, yeah, just the first step and the thrill of doing this, and just an amazing feat of landing on another world. But then 15, it's like, that still exists, but we've got all this other stuff, this array of amazing science and amazing exploration. Because, to be fair to Apollo 11, the thrill was obviously just the first landing. The actual site they were on was not very interesting. It was kind of flat and kind of boring, to be fair. But, well, I think Apollo 16 wasn't that interesting either, to be fair, but yeah, most of the other ones had more interest than Apollo 11 did. But then again, they weren't going there for that. It's just a case of, it's amazing we're here, that's it, really. But yes, it's a lot broader. Having said that, also Apollo 15 is going to be a longer expedition than Apollo 11 was. It's not like neither are going to long, but you know what I mean, it's slightly longer on purpose, especially in distance. But yeah, it's deliberately designed, like Apollo 11 was, to be an all-comers expedition. So whether it's your first or whether it's your 10th or 11th, then you're all equally welcome. If anyone fancies on the stream doing all this kind of stuff, or the racing, mountain climbing, jumping off, being silly, flying around mountains, etc., with some fun people, and this is where you should sign up to. You sign up to Apollo 15, wonderful. If not, and sign up to another expedition, also wonderful. I'm always trying to encourage other people to do these things. I do think in the last year or so there have been more people playing Elite than there have been for a while, because I've noticed, go to EDSN, there's a lot more people signing up to expeditions in the last sort of year, 18 months than there had been for like the previous couple of years.
Yeah, and a lot of new players too going on their first expedition. That's good.
100%, yeah. It's always a happy situation. The game may have frozen for me. Oh dear. No, it hasn't. It's just had a bit of a backlog.
I think I'll stay in the support role though, rather than running my own expeditions.
Sure. I think a lot of people feel the same, to be honest. They're happy to be, as you say, like, you know, members of staff for other expeditions, because it's a lot sort of freer and more flexible, obviously. You know, in my position, I mean, I do more admin than I actually do flying on these expeditions. That's like, it can be really interesting, but sometimes it can get quite repetitive. But that's the thing, it does become like an actual job at some point. So that's one thing I will say to anyone who actually wants to be the leader organizer of an expedition. Beware, it is quite a lot of work. But yeah, it's still worthwhile, I think. But yeah, I can't blame anyone for not wanting to do that, or wanting to just work on the staff for it. It's great fun to do, because I've done that well for other people in the past at different times. I worked on Distant Stars under Dr. Kai and Aramus for that very brief expedition before I did Mercury 7. I didn't have very much to do, but you know, that's my start anyway. I like these jagged peaks here. They're good to fly between. The Courier is almost ideal for this. An Eagle would be pretty cool as well, actually, but having said, the Corvette is remarkably agile for such a large ship. You still do some pretty fun flying in it.
I do enjoy it.
It's a very underrated all-rounder, I think. Obviously people know it's a combat ship, but you can do most things in it.
I think I've got 30 light-year range, which, you know, isn't totally awful.
That's an explorer's range, and to my mind, because people sometimes ask the question, especially people starting an expedition, it's like, what's a good range? Thinking, oh, I've got 40 light years. No, 40 light years is great. 30 light years, I would say, is a good minimum, like, baseline explorer one. I mean, even the Courier I'm in at the moment, I think that's like got 29, 30 light years range, something like that. So this kind of spec is
I'm
actually a
stacked
viable
at
explorer.
47 right now. 40,
Well, there you go.
46.
Absolutely, you can get couriers that have got a very good jump range. I'm 35 actually in this one, but that's it. As I've been saying to people a lot recently, I'm sure you've said recently also, Trillic, that the courier is an underrated explorer.
Oh, the canopy is a beauty.
The FSD booster definitely helps that be a fact, but I think that the FSD booster has made most ships in the game kind of okay explorers. Obviously, some better than others. The thing with this, the courier, is that it's just the fun of flying it on an expedition. The only thing I would recommend to you, Trillic, because it's just a general piece of advice on an expedition, if you're at a waypoint, you're going for a meet, and you're not sure if you're going to, like, you know, if you're in a courier and you think you might wreck the spacecraft, it's best to dock with a fleet carrier before. So if you have to respawn, then just you'll respawn to that. I know it's obvious, but sometimes people forget to do that.
No, definitely. I'm going to bring my Anaconda just in case, my real Explorers, because it's going to be loaded up full of SRVs. And
yeah. I think a lot of people do that. I mean, the last few expeditions I've been on, they've had fleet carriers in tow, and that's exactly it. People usually bring like 2 or 3 ships, like a sort of fun ship, like a fighter usually, or a courier or something similar. Or
I plan on doing all of it in the courier, but you know, just in case, we gotta have little backups.
Yeah, usually most people usually bring a fun ship and an explorer, like broadly speaking. Some people like bought a whole mini fleet of them, you know. And if they want to do that, that's absolutely fine. It's like a different ship each week. Like a fashion show.
I've now got all of my ships on my fleet carrier.
Cool.
So got
I think at the moment,
range to choose from.
Kit, that I think you'll carry is going to be the official one for Apollo 15, and then I think we might have another one as the sort of, you know, backup stroke sort of, you know, baggage train carrier, as it were. I can't think of the official name, you know what I mean? Like an auxiliary one might be the best term, but it's not the baggage train, that's more of an army term, isn't it? But yeah, the sort of auxiliary one that kind of brings up the rear, you know, just in case like people are behind and what have you. So yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, I'm very excited to be a part of it. It's I've done explorations on my own, I've told Yannick, but it'll definitely be my first expedition with a group of people, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that's awesome. I think everyone starts off by themselves and exploring, and then they get a taste for it and then want to do it with other people, and as you say, here you are. I think that's almost everyone's journey. I think somebody I met once along the way did actually, like, their first exploring of any kind was actually an expedition, and it was a bit rough on them because they just didn't have any sort of, you know, it was a bit like throwing themselves in the deep end, really. Because if you've obviously been exploring by yourself for a while, you know, you kind of, you know what to do, you know. You're just, You
learn things when you're out there in the dark by yourself, and, you know, stuff starts breaking or things aren't working correctly, and you got to figure it out. And this was before fleet carriers, too, so,
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think for Apollo 15, say it's like, what, 19,000 light years, so it's not long, but it's long enough to give anyone who's not done one before a sort of good introduction. But say in every other way we're treating it as an expedition, even though it's not like deep in the black, you know.
It's not that bad at all.
Yeah, exactly. You can still find undiscovered worlds on it. There's so much of the galaxy just outside the like near bubble space that has lots of undiscovereds. I mean, the bigger bright stars, not so much, but for like smaller stars and like there's so much of the galaxy out there. I mean, you go slightly off plane even by 50 light years, bingo.
I secretly was hoping it was a little bit longer, but it's okay. I'll have other expeditions.
Yeah. And this is always the thing. I think every organizer has like a different sort of vision in mind to like what they're wanting to do. But say in this way, this is kind of modelled on what we did on Apollo 11, just slightly longer. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of expeditions that go out for much longer than that. Most of the ones I did in sort of the couple did in between, like Apollo 11 and this one, were much longer. That's the funny thing, I fitted in 2 long expeditions in between Apollo 11 and Apollo 15. It's quite funny, really. Another one that people often do as a starter sort of expedition is a Christmas Carriers Convoy. That's quite a popular one because it's been running for years now. I think every year of the last like 5 or 6 years, they've gone from the bubble to Colonia. And that's a good one as well. It's very similar actually. It's like about 20,000+ light years, and I think that's actually short. That's about a couple of weeks around Christmas time. But that's a good starter one, definitely.
Definitely. All right, fellas.
Awesome. Right, I think I might wrap up
me
the stream
too.
as well. So yeah, 'cause if you guys are both going, I'm gonna get going myself. So I'll boost away now into the distance.
Great
Awesome.
fun. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you guys. And thanks for everything, and I'll see you soon. And to those of you who are on the stream,
Sure.
I'll be wrapping this up. And this has been an interesting experience, having to juggle all these things together. But you know, it's the only way you learn is by doing it. And see you all soon. Fly safe and take care. Yeah, I'll be ending the stream very shortly. I think I'll do a couple of jumps before I actually finally end for the night. But yeah, I'm sort of winding down now. But yeah, I hope that was at least interesting or amusing. And yeah, that's most expedition meetups tend to be a little bit like that, but on a bigger scale. There's usually, you know, like at least 10 people on most of the major ones in a group, and that's relatively small. I mean, the bigger meetups can be like 50 people. Instancing's a problem if you've got that many people, but sometimes you'll just have to split into different instances. Some of the biggest expeditions have had like literally hundreds of people at the same time trying to get into the same location. And yeah, it happens. As I say, in these places, instancing is in one group is almost impossible on the surface with that many commanders. But it's in those situations you just have to just consciously sort of split into different instances, sometimes in different places. I mean, that's how we sorted it on Apollo 11, to the different groups. We organised ourselves in different flotillas of people would fly with each other every week, and each flotilla in turn would be a different instance in a different location. So it was easier to people that you knew that, let's say, flotilla 1 would go to site A and 2 would go to site B, and so on and so forth. Most of these locations were scouted out like a long time in advance. Sometimes, you know, new ones were found spontaneously that were more exciting and more interesting. But that's the nature of exploration. Sometimes, you know, you do find new things that are better than the ones you already had. You know, locations that are better than the ones you already had. But that's just the nature of it. Target obscured. Okay, fair enough. But hopefully Apollo 15 will be a big successful expedition as well. So far 170 people have signed up, and we've got 3 months to go, so I'm hoping for a good turnout. In the history of Elite, Apollo 11 expedition was the 3rd biggest in the game's history. We hit, I think it was about, 670 commanders approximately, I think, signed up. It's not as big as Distant Worlds 1 and 2, which are the... Distant Worlds 2 is the biggest, and Distant Worlds 1 was the 2nd biggest in Elite history. But those are like orders of magnitude bigger. So it's not really surprising, but it's still pretty big by any stretch of the imagination. If we can hit those kind of numbers again, I would be genuinely very happy. But I'm always happy when people show up. It's always great to see you all. It genuinely pleases me, and it's always great fun. We always have a good time. There's always plenty to talk about, plenty to do. And if you're interested, sign up in the About section. I will always welcome you on Apollo 15. But this seems like a good place to stop the stream for the night. Thank you to everyone who's watched the stream. And so, as I said before, until the next time, fly safe. And if you can't fly safe, fly dangerous.